Andrew Schulz, guys, got a podcast called Flagrant. And he invited me on. This is an old story a couple of months ago. He invites me on, tells Scott Coker, hey, Bellator Grand Prix coming up. Let's talk about it. I want Chael to come on. Bellator PR calls, man. We go out there and we do this thing with Schulz. And I must tell you, I didn't know how big he was. I just flat didn't know. I looked him up. I saw his numbers, same as you guys could do. Everybody likes him. He's a handsome guy. He's a ton of energy. He makes great faces. He works with cool people. I mean, right, I'm stating the obvious for you, but this is all that I know. I don't realize how big he is. As a matter of fact, I do aerial show the day before. Love doing aerial show. Love aerial. Truly, just I love being around Ariel. I leave happier, right? He's one of those personalities for me. But when I was doing Ariel's show, I wasn't being my typical dick of a self when I told him I'm out here to do Andrew Schulz. You know, they flew me into New York. They put me up in Times Square in a big old suite. They flew my wife out with me, first class, and they did all of these things to put me on a podcast that's much smaller than mine. I could have stayed home and talked about the Grand Prix and my teammate, most specifically Brent Primus. I could have stayed home and done that. And I wasn't looking to put Schulz down. That's kind of a rude thing to say, right? I didn't mean to do that, but these words had come out. Sometimes they don't come out just the way you meant them. But it was still accurate. I didn't take them back. And Schulz called me on that. Called me the next day. He goes, "Soup, your podcast is bigger than mine, huh?" He'd heard that I told Ariel that. And I said, yeah. And he laughed, and I didn't know why. And I went on about my day. And when I got done doing the show, I could feel it. And there's only 3 things I've ever done in my life that I could feel. Joe Rogan. I wore a bad guy shirt. We just started making shirts. And it was a Queensberry bad guy. I never talked about go to badguyinc.com. Never once. Never talked about I'm selling these shirts. These are my shirts. Nothing. I just wore a shirt and went and did Joe's show. I have an app called Shopify. Every time a shirt sells, ding, 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 you get this. Shopify's a great company. Canadian company. It was going crazy. When I turned my phone back on after I did Joe's show, I didn't say anything. There were so many people that, I don't know how that works. They see it, they see the shirt, they type it. I don't know all of the steps that you would have to do. It'd be so much easier if I just said, go to badguyinc.com and buy the shirt. Nothing even close to that. And it would not stop dinging. It's just an incredible thing. But I'm sharing with you, I could feel the power of the Joe Rogan experience. And fast forward, did Ariel's show, his primetime spot. It was a Monday. All of you guys, he does it live. Mean Street Coffee. Right here. Never lost a round. Ariel brought it up. I've never talked to you guys about it. I got a cup all the time. I've never plugged it. My partner Ryan says to me, how come you don't plug our coffees? Well, I was drinking and I got the sign. I felt like I did. I literally never referenced this sign to you ever, but Ariel did. So on Ariel's show, he did it, and it was the same experience. I turned my phone on after the show. Shopify, the same act for the t-shirts. I could feel it. That's my only point to you. I could feel it. I've done some things where I didn't even get a tweet about it. Things on linear television that I didn't even get a tweet up, down, or sideways. Ooh, it's not going to work out. I had a pretty good focus group. I do Schulz's show. My goodness, I can't believe how big this guy was. I mean, it's coming at me from all sides. Then you got the kids that like him so much, they take his product and they like steal it. They break down clips and they put it out on their own channels and hope that they don't get caught. Even that was happening. I just kept getting back to me. Well, this is a really big show. No wonder he had made that comment to me. But this was a couple of months ago, and I just went back and I was watching a clip. And there was, for whatever reason, I decide I want to be interesting. To be interesting, I'm going to talk about damn near every exciting thing that's ever happened in my life. Damn near all of them. The show is hours. I mean, it was 2-3 hours. Where I'm talking about how I met my hot ass wife. Anything cool that's ever happened to me, I'm gonna condense into this one show. And we had a sticking point. And the sticking point was Floyd Mayweather and his fake numbers. Now, when I talk about Mayweather, sometimes I read comments and it's, oh, Chael's giving Mayweather a hard time. I greatly admire Mayweather, in fairness. The things that I've heard from people within the gym just on his work ethic alone, I really admire Mayweather. When I tell the stories and I talk about how fake his numbers are, you're mishearing me. I'm not putting Floyd down. I'm pointing out the plot in the story that was happening that you didn't know was part of the story. That's why it's interesting. That's why when I tell you that nobody ever, from Time Warner, from Cox, from Xfinity, from DirecTV, nobody ever has confirmed those pay-per-view numbers. Ever. Because they're not true. And the Federal Trade Commission, if you were an executive at a publicly traded company, you cannot come out and embellish your numbers. It's illegal. It's a big deal. It's a really big deal. Because if you want to have the biggest drawing boxing event in history, all you have to do is put out the press release. In my life, and I work for the worldwide leader, guys. I work at ESPN. In my life, I have never seen somebody push back on a press release. Ever. I've never seen a producer, a host, a talent, a fellow promoter that wants to defend his own record and they're coming in and saying that he just lost it. I've never seen anybody push back on a faceless, nameless press release. No offense to the PR person that wrote it. But they are writing it. They don't have to show their face. They don't have to go in front of the world. They don't have to raise their hand. They're not going under oath. It's a piece of paper. And when it comes across the facsimile, they go and read it on air. And if you want to have the biggest boxing fight of all time, all you have to do is lie more than the person who lied before you. I think that's interesting. That's not an insult to Floyd. I think that's a fascinating concept. And when I was on Flagrant, they attempted to tell me that Floyd Mayweather for one fight got $250 million. Now you guys can go find that. I've given you guys many gems over the years, and I have to sit back sometimes and go, man, some of my followers sure are stupid. Because I'll read in the comment section where I will tell you something happened or it didn't happen, and then you will tell me what Google said. It's like you had access to Google and I didn't. By example, right? I'm coming in and sharing the behind the in the weeds that you can't get anywhere, that nobody else had the courage or the wits to come and share. I come and share that with you, and you tell me that I'm wrong because of what Google said. And when I went on Schulz's show, I brought this up, and they told me they had a hard time with what I was saying, because the $250 million was reported by Forbes. They said that. It was a very nice guy, got along with him very well, but he said, Chael, I got his phone right there. He said, man, this is Forbes is saying this. Forbes is saying Floyd got $250 million in one night. He's showing me it. He said, Chael, are you saying that's wrong? I said, yes. Not only am I saying it's wrong, I'm going to share with you how they got it wrong. Which is, if you take somebody like Forbes, you could take Celebrity Net Worth, you could take TMZ. I mean, you could just start going, Journalism 101 is cite your source, but it ends right there. There isn't Journalism 102, just so you understand. There's not a 400 level course. Journalism, cite your source. You're out. You're out right there. As long you make any claim you want, cite your source and move on to the next headline. So when you have somebody like Forbes, they're going to go to other sources. And then they get a TMZ to see it, and they'll see it was posted over here by Sports Illustrated, and they'll get a quote directly from Floyd. Boom, this is done. No, $250 million. Okay. I'm not trying to condescend. I'm not trying to condescend, but I was born on the other side of the tracks. My father was a very rich man. That was just the reality. I had a silver spoon, right? They said a silver spoon shoved up his ass. I had a diamond encrusted golden spoon. I just did. You don't know anyone that's done a $250 million deal. I'm not being a dick to you. I'm not being a dick to you. You don't know anyone. Let me explain to you how this works, okay? If there was a person that owed $250 million to another person, the person that owes the $250 million is going to give the other person about 80. And when they say, where is the balance? They're going to say, I'll send you 20 million right now, but then we're done. I'll send you 20 million right now. You're going to come out. You're going to cut a fat hog on this. I've already sent you 80. I'll send you another 20. That's $100 million. And I'll do it now, right now. I got the wire codes. I got the transfer. I'll do it right now. We will put this behind us, but then we're done. They're going to say, what are you talking? Why would I settle at $100 million? You owe me $250 million. Just so you guys understand. If anyone owes somebody $250 million, any $250 million deal that has been done in the history of Earth, person that owes the $250 million doesn't pay $250 million. They short them significantly, and then they try to reach a deal. And if that was to go to court, go, hey, whoa, wait, hey, just a minute, I got a contract with you, and this is fraud. You're like, guys, is that what it means? Because the way I interpret it, you start going back and forth, start getting to a brick wall where you're getting you're owed $250, you're getting nothing, and the dude said, man, I can get you 70 right now. Now, we're all done. We don't have to fight this out for the next 8 years. You can go live fat on. I'm just sharing with you. That's how that's done. On Schulz's show, they're attempting to quote Forbes, which said Floyd in one night was paid $250 million. Now, just so you know how the fight game works, you were handed that money in the form of a check. You're handed that money that night. If you're in on the pay-per-view, it can come in what's called a drip, and that can be deposited to your account later. That would all be for what's open to your contract. Who wrote the check? I mean, when you say something stupid, I'm going to ask you a very simple question. If Floyd was paid $250 million, which Forbes says he was, who wrote the check? Do you see the problem? Do you know that guy would have been the one on the cover of Forbes, not an article buried inside it on a .com about Floyd receiving it. But do you understand? I mean, this is just basic logic. Who was the promoter that wrote the check? If he paid Floyd a quarterback, what did they bring in? Did they bring in $1 billion on a fight? Do you start to see where the problem comes? Do you start to see where this gets very, very obvious? And I will just go back to the point that anyone in the history of time that's owed somebody $250 million never gave them $250 million. They'd probably start with zero and start to work things out before they lined their pockets so they could go to lawyers. I mean, just so you understand, it's just a stupid thing to say. It's a stupid thing to believe would happen. And who's the guy in the base scratching at a check for a quarterback? This will clear. Here, cash it on Monday, kid. What do you? It's really tough. Now, I bring you all of this, not just to go back, but I did have a problem with it. He called me to my face about Forbes. He said, man, this is Forbes. I'm sitting there as a representative flown in by Scott Coker. I'm sitting there as a representative right there who works for ESPN. I mean, you want to impress me with Forbes? I think I could impress you with some pretty little letters there too. And I'm telling you, nobody wrote Floyd a check for $250 million or any other boxer. There's no unnamed person in sport writing $250 million checks. You'd know who they were. Believe me. He said he didn't think I was telling the truth. Now, there's a difference in being wrong and lying. There's a big difference. You can be wrong, you can misspeak. There's a difference in being wrong and lying. And it was fascinating for me from a psychological standpoint, because this wasn't the only thing that I told him. I tell him how I got my wife. I mean, I'm having fun, right? I know DB Cooper. It's this weird thing, but I know DB Cooper, and I had problems with the FBI back when I was. I'm telling him everything. I'm telling him, we're having a good time. I'm coming clean. And one thing, I was told this by Michelle Karen, special prosecutor located here in Portland, Oregon. I was sitting across the table from her. It's an old adage. You guys have heard it before. I believe it was Mark Twain. The truth will set you free. No, I apologize. Mark Twain said, if you're in a hole, quit digging. But Michelle Karen had said this to me. The truth will set you free. There's a lot of truth to it. And I took that with me. When they lightened up the handcuffs and I walked out of there, I took that with me, and I've used it. I've used it ever since. And it's a very liberating thing to just tell people the truth. And it was fascinating telling them what a bad guy I am. I'm telling them of all the crimes that I committed. I'm telling them I'm half a Robin Hood. Robin Hood stole from the rich and gave to the poor. I stole from the rich and then I kept it. I can't be more direct with them. I'm telling them about anabolics. I'm telling them about violations of commissions. I'm telling them about all the tests I beat. The very few that got me. Telling them I'm a bad guy. In those words, the guy called me a liar. That, to me, is fascinating, which goes back to what special prosecutor Michelle Karen told me, and I took with me, which is the truth will set you free. If I am proclaiming to this person that I am a bad guy and he calls me a liar, I mean, liar sounds like a really negative thing, right? I told him I'm a bad guy. He told me I'm lying, which means he thinks I'm a good guy. I told him the truth. Now, I bundled a lot. I did a lot of living in 46 years. I've been down that way. But I was bringing it all out. But when I told him the truth to set myself free, he told me I wasn't telling him the truth. I told him I am a bad guy. He told me that is not true, meaning I'm a good guy. It stumped me. But from a psychological standpoint, I find that fascinating.